This is Your Superior Self, episode 55. Never Lose Hope with Dr. Jaime Hope.
It's kind of ridiculous because we have this question we keep asking ourselves, who am I to do this? And I just challenge people, who are you not to? We're so worried about being what other people think we should be or what we think other people think we should be. And when I finally realized people aren't thinking about us nearly as often as we think they're thinking about us, it was a lot easier to let that go. So I started recognizing something called ants. And you saw that in the talk tray, the ants. So automatic negative thoughts, ANT. And it's the things that pop in your head as soon as somebody compliments you, as soon as you look in the mirror, as soon as you start to do or try something that you're excited about but scared to do. It's this instant reaction that we get. And really working on recognizing and combating those, I had no idea how much I was bullying myself in my own head. And as I started recognizing that, I learned a lot of resilience strategies to shut that voice off, because that's wrong. It's not, that stuff isn't even true. And just embracing the awesomeness and the hard work and all those things, and being willing and open to be proud of something that I've done, and have a beginner's mindset that I'm always willing to continue to learn. And things have gotten so much better in life for me.
What is going on, Superior Nation? Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Your Superior Self, the podcast that breathes inspiration into your body to help you get motivated to become your superior self. I'm your host, Trey Downs, and I want to ask you a question. How are you showing up at home, at work, and in life? Are you showing up as the best version of yourself? Or are you just showing up? Sometimes it's easy to get lost in life and not take care of ourselves. And this podcast, the way that I want to structure it is to give us tips and give us advice on how we can show up as the best version of ourselves. Sometimes in life we get lost and we forget why we're doing things. We forget our vision. We forget the next step that we must take to get to our goal, because we put others' needs in front of our own, or we tend to put out fires that don't need to be put out. I'm here to remind you that in order for you to show up as the best version of yourself, you have to take care of you. There are needs that you need to meet in order to be the best spouse, the best father, or the best worker that you can possibly be. And they're all different for everyone. I know for me, in order for me to show up as the best version of myself, I have to read books on self-development. I have to listen to podcasts and audiobooks on self-growth. I have to journal so that way I can kind of map out my direction, and I have to meditate so that I clear my mind. I have to eat the right foods and do the right diet so that way my body is like a well-oiled machine, so that way I can think clearly. I know that I have to communicate more with my family. That way that we're all on the same page and we can grow together. I know that for work, I have to be in it when I'm there and not worry about outside distractors, because that is when we get distracted from our goals in our professional life, is when we worry about the outside. So there are so many techniques and so many tools that you can use to help you, to help guide you through your life. I'm asking you to use those. And the only measurement that you can take is this. Are you today better than you were yesterday? And if you can say yes, you're on the right track. And I encourage you to continue on this journey with me on this podcast. Her name is Dr. Jaime Hope, and she is the author of Habit That. She's also a physician working outside of Detroit, Michigan, in one of the busiest emergency departments in the country. In over 12 years on the job, she's learned that no matter what brings her patients to the ER, they all have the same thing in common. They want to live a happier and healthier life. And before we dive into the powerful interview, an inspirational chat with Dr. Hope, I want to ask you to hit me up on Twitter at DownsTrey. I'm on Instagram at TDowns80. You can find me on Facebook at Trey Downs. You can email me or message me at the website at yoursuperiorself.com. Hit me up. I love hearing from you guys. If this is the first time that you listen to the show, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a rating and a review. That way others who are inspired to change will find this podcast that I'm trying to create. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Without further ado, here is Dr. Jaime Hope. So what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Your Superior Self. Today I have a very special guest, Dr. Jaime Hope. She is an engaging and enthusiastic professional speaker and is highly rated by her students and audiences. Dr. Hope, welcome to the show.
Trey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Dr. Hope, I want you to give us a little inside look about what your typical day is. Like, what is a typical day for Dr. Hope?
So the best and worst part about being an ER doctor is the incredible randomness in my days and in my schedule. So we don't work typical 9 to 5 banker's hours because, unfortunately, people choose or not choose to have emergencies 24/7, 365. So sometimes I'm morning shift, sometimes I'm afternoon shift, sometimes it's a midnight shift. So we're scheduled out 1 month at a time, and you never know exactly what you're going to end up with.
So that's 12-hour shifts, right?
We do 10s because we don't get breaks. So 10 is plenty when sometimes you're just crossing your fingers hoping you get to pee once in a while during your shift.
What is, and I have to ask it, what is the most intense situation that you've been involved in your department right now?
Oh, so anytime we get a patient, it's a situation we call talk and die. So a patient starts the encounter talking, and then for whatever reason, they're very sick and they crash and they code. And so you've had an interaction with this human being. You've looked them in the eye, you've spoken with them, and they die in front of you. And so doing absolutely, literally everything that modern medicine has to offer, because you can't just let this person die. And it gets very intense. And we've got an amazing group of people that we work with, thank goodness, because we don't like that kind of stuff to happen on our watch.
Oh, absolutely. It's so hard to fathom the idea that you do these 10-hour shifts and then you have a book that is launching today, right? You have your book. You're an ER doctor. How in the world do you, and you're also a mother and a wife. How do you balance all of that?
You have to be mildly crazy. That helps. Because I'm also an assistant professor at the medical school, so I teach courses there. And so I have found what made me better at all of these things was having boundaries. And I'm willing to work this many shifts per month, doing this many lectures and things per month, this much travel in particular for interesting opportunities, because really at the end of the day, I'm a human being and I still need to take care of myself. I can't balance all of these other things unless I am rested and taken care of and fulfilled. And I just, as a mom, you have 3 kids, Trey, you know what I'm talking about. You need to spend time with your kids. So I don't look at it on a day-to-day basis because sometimes a particular day isn't balanced. But when I can step back and look at my schedule for the week or for the month and realize I am meeting my goals and spending quality time and doing self-care, that's how I know that I'm actually doing it right.
I love that. And speaking of the book, I meant to mention that on the intro. It's Habit That. It launches today. Make sure you guys go out and pick your copy up. It is from Dr. Jaime Hope, and it's called Habit That. Now, what are the details about the book? What is it about?
So a lot of people have asked me even, what does the title mean? What is Habit That? And so it was kind of interesting. So I'm very healthy. I'm very into nutrition and exercise and stuff. But I found this really interesting thing that was happening. So after my healthy lunch every day, it started, there was some peanut M&Ms left over from a party. And I was like, oh, well, I'll have a couple peanut M&Ms. I just had a super healthy lunch. Great. And then the next day there were a few left. So I had a few more. And then the next day. And by the fourth day, Trey, it was fascinating because the fourth day, as soon as I finished my lunch, my brain immediately said, cool, time for peanut M&Ms. And I was like, oh my God, I just created a habit without even trying intentionally. So it's like, okay, let me step back. So when I'm doing something like that, really any behavior, stop and ask myself, do I want to habit that? Do I want to have that be a part of my regular routine? And if so, by all means, continue. But if not, it just that phrase, that do I want to habit that, really helped me step back and say, okay, no, I can have this today, but it's not something I'm going to add to my routine. So that's where the title came from.
That's pretty interesting. I like that. Don't habit that. I get that. Now I get it. Now I see your vision.
Yes.
So it's a very motivational book, right? In helping you find your real why, and help you work smarter, right?
Yes, it's really all about empowerment. I am so done with the BS, fad diets, the crap, the things that make you feel like you need to be ashamed or feel guilty about food. We have so many negative emotions. People are like, oh, look in the mirror and check out your fat, or oh, that's a terrible food. You shouldn't be doing that. And it's created this completely ridiculous culture. Food is wonderful and delicious, and we should enjoy it and find ways to nourish our bodies and enjoy it. So I'm very positive, very upbeat, and nobody has to be perfect. I have no idea where that idea came from. But if we're doing the majority of our habits are healthy and nourishing, that occasional brownie that you're going to have is not a big deal. And it's something that you should enjoy. So yes, I'm very into uplifting and supporting. And when you're connected with your deep why about why you want to get healthy, it's very easy to help let the habits just fall into place naturally.
It's not really a common thing to see a doctor give preventative healthcare advice, is it?
Sadly, I feel like it's not. So we're trained in the disease care model, and there's nothing wrong with that because we need to take care of diseases. Particularly my role in emergency medicine, it's not a job that's even part of the preventative care model in particular. But for so many years, people are coming in to see me. I've been doing it for 13 years now. And the vast majority of my patients are there on the worst day of their life. And so it's my job to help and guide them through that and practice good medicine. But it was always kind of bothering me, this thing in the back of my mind saying, if they had been given some guidance, they could have and prevented themselves from even having to be here in the first place. And so I started studying nutrition and exercise and health and all these things in addition to my medical studying, because I was just driven by this passion about really wanting to help people live their best lives. And it's led to this book, to doing speaking and trainings. And honestly, it's been the most incredible journey.
Speaking of your talks, I really was inspired by your website, the talk that you have there about the imposter syndrome. Yeah, I saw that. I did some research on you, and I absolutely loved it. The imposter syndrome. Can you go ahead and touch upon that and give my listeners a little insight on what your definition of imposter syndrome is?
Sure. So that was a really fun talk because when the further we make it and the more we start to succeed and step a little bit outside of what we think the boundaries are, what we think we're supposed to do, we start to feel like maybe we secretly don't really belong. And then everyone else around us knows what they're doing. And eventually they're going to figure out that we don't belong there. And for me, it started, so I'm a blue-collar kid. I am first-generation college. So my dad worked for the road commission, and he did manual labor work. And my mom stayed at home to raise us three kids because any job she could get with her high school diploma wouldn't even pay for the child care for the three kids while she was doing it. Mm-hmm. And then as we got older into school age, she did some, odd jobs. She worked for the school, did some temp agency stuff. I mean, seriously, my parents are amazing, hardworking, wonderful people. And they raised me to whatever I was doing, whether I was scrubbing the floors at Taco Bell, which I did, or cleaning up at movie theaters, which I did, and all of the jobs that got me where I'm at. They taught me that hard work. But so when I started down this academic path in college, I did well, I worked hard, and then you get into med school. And I remember getting there, and so people are like, oh, what does your dad run? I'm like, what do you mean run? Like, I thought they meant exercise. I didn't understand the question. And this girl, she's like, well, my dad is the president of some university. And my immediate response, just my innate personality, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I didn't realize it was a competition. So I was actually just excited for her. She's like, what does your dad run? I was like, his life. He runs a grader. He runs awesomeness. Like, what does this have to do with anything? I got crazy good grades and got here. And so I started looking around like, oh my God, do I not actually belong here? And it was a terrible feeling to think, am I somehow an imposter? Like they're going to come tap me on the shoulder in anatomy lab one day and say, oh, sorry about that. We didn't really mean for you to be here. We have somebody smarter waiting outside. If you could just go to your car. So I really did think it was just me, because people don't want to talk about that. And so I started, my huge inner nerd. So I decided to research it and learn about it and talk about it. And the more I did, the more I found that almost all people, when they achieve some level of a success, have some of those type of feelings. So it's been very fun to kind of out that and realize if we just talk about it, we can make this ridiculous thing go away, because we all belong. We all deserve our success. We work hard, and it's okay to be amazing. It's totally fine.
Yeah, I think people really feel the imposter syndrome early on in their journey as well, right? Like, so if you're starting something new and you're taking a leap of faith and you start doing something that you're not familiar with, that imposter theory creeps up. It's like, why are you doing this, Trey? Like, Jamie, why are you doing this? Like, why are you going out and talking? Like, who are you to do this? Like, and you made a really good point in your talk about how to eliminate that voice. If you could go ahead and touch upon that. Yeah.
It's honestly, it's kind of ridiculous, because we have this question we keep asking ourselves, who am I to do this? And I just challenge people, who are you not to? We're so worried about being what other people think we should be, or what we think other people think we should be. And when I finally realized people aren't thinking about us nearly as often as we think they're thinking about us, it was a lot easier to let that go. So I started recognizing something called ants. And you saw that in the talk, Trey, the ants. So automatic negative thoughts, ANT. And it's the things that pop in your head as soon as somebody compliments you, as soon as you look in the mirror, as soon as you start to do or try something that you're excited about but scared to do. It's this instant reaction that we get. And really working on recognizing and combating those, I had no idea how much I was bullying myself in my own head. And as I started recognizing that, I learned a lot of resilience strategies to shut that voice off, because that's wrong. It's not, that stuff isn't even true. And just embracing the awesomeness and the hard work and all those things, and being willing and open to be proud of something that I've done, and have a beginner's mindset that I'm always willing to continue to learn. And things have gotten so much better in life for me since I've done that.
Do you ever use self-meditating practices or anything like that to help turn that voice down at all?
I do. I've tried a bunch of different types of meditation, because everybody told me I should. And I even know the science behind it, how useful it is. But I'm a very kinetic person, and I'm an ER doc, and we don't very much get to sit. So when someone told me to just sit still and clear my mind, I tried it. And mostly it went something like, okay, clear your mind. Wait, no, that's a thought. No, that's a thought too. Stop thinking those thoughts. Wait, those are all thoughts. Like, just it just went so badly.
Well, tell me about the exact moment that you wanted to do this. Like, you wanted to be a speaker, you wanted to be an author. Like, was there something? I mean, you to be a doctor. I mean, you go through some extensive schooling and some extensive training. Like, you weren't done there. Like, you got through med school and your residency, and you're like, you know what? I want to add something onto this resume. Like, what was the exact moment that you decided to take on this?
I think it was just a culmination of things. I was the kid that wanted to narrate the school playback in fifth grade and do stuff. And it started with those. Do you remember the Just Say No programs from elementary school? I'm kind of dating myself here, but I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so from there, I got to, as a high school student, go into elementary school and teach. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And for a long time, I actually thought I wanted to be a teacher. And as a physician, I get to, which is awesome. And so, I got to teach lectures to residents. And let me tell you, for the record, some medical lectures can be crazy boring.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I can
you
imagine.
can just dry the crap out of any topic. And they do that horrible thing where they put up a PowerPoint with 500 words and then read them to you.
Oh.
Like, oh my God, can we just assume we're all literate at this point? It's so bad.
But they literally have the easiest job. I can put a PowerPoint together,
Yeah.
copy and paste, and then read it to you and get paid a salary.
Yes, it could be about something you don't even know about because you're just reading it off the slides.
Absolutely.
And I was like, this is killing me. And so I want to teach and I want to do a better job. And so I started doing that and doing, more concepts and making teaching more memorable and engaging for the adult learner. And then I was also, because of my passion, being invited to community service. So I would show up to civic groups and old folks' homes and weight loss clubs and stuff like that to just answer their questions about medicine and healthcare. And I kept getting more and more passionate and more excited about it. I was like, wow, this is something I actually really want to do. And I opened myself up to that, into the universe, and the opportunities have been pretty amazing.
What is the most asked question that you get in regards to like health and how to?
So two things. So it depends on the target audience. So if we're at dinner having a couple of drinks, the question is, what is the weirdest thing you've pulled out of somebody? I get that one a lot.
What is the weirdest?
Oh, it's very interesting. You can, it turns out that people will put just about any household object into an orifice. And, yeah, so I'm certainly willing to share gross stories. I hate to gross out your audience.
No, go ahead. I want to know.
I had a patient who stuck several paper clips in his urethra.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, good. It was hard to kind of wrap my mind around that, but it doesn't matter. We don't ask why. So like the dilemma of getting them out, and there's just more and more and more. I'm like, oh my gosh, how many are in there?
Oh my God.
So I have learned so much about human nature, and cause people are coming into me. It's a very private moment. Believe me, whatever's in there, they tried to get it out at home first. So if they're coming to me, so we're actually very dignified and respectful about the whole process. But sometimes at the end of the day, you go home and you're like, I've just really never looked at a shampoo bottle and thought like, hey, how you doing?
That is crazy. Like, I guess nothing surprises you at this point.
Oh my gosh, it really, really, really doesn't. And I'm surprised when people are kind of bashful about stuff, because I've kind of already heard it all. And I even had to tell a patient, because they were very reluctant to tell me the truth. I'm like, I'm super confident that you can't shock me at this point. So it's okay to just tell me the truth.
That is crazy. That is insane. I have to tell you what, after watching that video of your imposter syndrome, you do a really good job in showing your confidence on stage. Is that something that you practice a lot, or is that just something natural?
It's a little bit of both. You have to, some people say that public speaking is worse than the fear of death. So you have to kind of like it. But no, honestly, I get so energized and excited when I'm up there. It's so fun. And then because I've been doing it so often, I've had a few really amazing high-level speakers reach out to me and offer some pointers and tips and training on how to get better. So that video was actually pre-coaching. And since then, I've improved substantially. But the problem is when you're speaking at a high-level event and they're charging a lot of money for tickets, they don't just release the video on YouTube. So I did 45 speaking engagements last year, and none of them are available to share the videos. But I have that one out there, and that was actually my very first national event. So I was on a stage in New York, and I'm from Detroit, and so it was exciting. I was nervous, but it was so fun, and it was such a loving and warm and supportive audience. It made it so much nicer.
Have you considered doing a TEDx?
I have. I would be so honored. I got to attend TED Med this year, and it was incredible. So, absolutely. That is for sure on my bucket list.
We'll have to do everything that we can to get you on that.
Thanks.
So let's talk about failures. Like what has been the biggest failure for you that has helped you reach success?
I think that it was burnout. And so in medicine, there's certainly some level of burnout rate, but in emergency medicine, we have amongst the highest. So it's hard to imagine, but so where I work outside of Detroit is one of the top busiest level 1 trauma centers in the country. Not just the area, but I think we've been rated anywhere from number 12 to number 9 in terms of volume and busyness. In going through residency, there's alleged duty hours restrictions, but it doesn't always work that way. And then, so you're trying to take care of patients, and some patients are kind, and honestly, some patients are not. They're there on the worst day of their life, and they consider you a punching bag. I have been insulted, words I would never repeat on a podcast. You can't even imagine the stuff people have said. I have been spit on, shoved, mistreated, assaulted, groped, and literally punched in the face. And I'm like, and you're sitting there thinking, I haven't eaten. I haven't even had a break to pee in hours. And this is, and so I actually went through a period of time where I was going to quit. I was like, screw this. This sucks. This is awful. I'm working weird hours. I'm missing holidays with my family. I'm working nights. I'm working weekends, and it's hard and it sucks. And then there's always the litigation stress. It used to be just bad doctors got sued, but now everyone gets sued. People are just trying to win the lawsuit lottery. So something happens and they're immediately, even if you didn't do anything wrong, you still have to pay to get dragged through this process. In the end, if you're vindicated, it doesn't matter. You're still suffered. So I went through this awful phase. I'm like, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I should quit. And I took a little step back, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why do I want this? Why did I go to this many years of school and go into 6-figure debt? Because my parents couldn't pay for me to go to school. They couldn't just, here's hundreds of thousands of dollars, honey, good luck. But I reconnected with my why, just like I talk about in the book, that very basic level of why am I doing this? And I started taking care of myself, better self-care, more sleep, more exercise, eating better, spending the time and reconnecting with my patients as human beings. And that failure actually made me a better doctor because I needed that reset button. And I love my job so much now. And even though it's hard and I'm exhausted and it's messy and kind of gooey some days, I come home and I'm like, that is so cool. They pay me to take care of people, and that's awesome. So I really needed that rock bottom, I want to quit, everything sucks level to really grow into the mature physician that I am today. And so a lot of what I talk about, especially to physician audiences, is burnout and resilience.
What would be your advice to someone not in the medical field that is just hating their job? Like what advice would you give to them to kind of reevaluate their position in life?
So, that's not a terribly uncommon dilemma. So I would challenge them and ask, why do you hate it? Is it that you are not feeling appreciated? Is it that you're not connected with the work? Do you not feel like it's meaningful? And if those three things are out of alignment, it's very difficult to do whatever you do, because any job can be meaningful. What my dad did was amazing. He fixed roads. Nobody can get anywhere with bad roads. And so, I mean, he was actually connected with the big picture of importance of what he was doing, and he liked it, and he felt pride in that. And so that's what I grew up learning. So if somebody is so unhappy, why? If they're not connected with one of those things, then my next question would be, why are you staying? And what is that barrier inside that's preventing you from doing the job that you actually want to do, that you know that you can do? It's fear. But would you rather be stuck in a situation you don't like and are miserable? Is that more painful than getting over that bit of fear to step to the next level? I mean, I really think that getting out of that situation is an incredibly brave and amazing thing to do if it's not the right place to be.
Now, working in the ER and being frontline to a lot of crazy stuff, do you get yeah, patients to come in and like kind of open up to you, and like maybe they are dying or maybe they are close to death, and do they ever express to you like their regrets or what they should have done in their lives?
Oh yeah, and honestly, that's one of the biggest honors I could even imagine as a physician. People are so very open because I make people immediately understand I'm a safe place. You can tell me anything. The stuff people reveal to me is incredible. But yes, and honestly, Trey, it's not even always the people that are dying. Sometimes they're having a heart attack and we're going to fix them and they're going to be fine. And we know that, and they're going to walk out. But it's a very big aha moment. And it's never about something that they did. Very rarely. I mean, maybe someone did something super bad, but the regret over and over and over and over again is the thing they didn't do. That thing that they knew they could do and that was consistent with who they were and their wishes, and they were afraid and they didn't do it. Those are the regrets that people have as we're wheeling them off to the cath lab for their heart attack or as we're taking them upstairs to hospice. I hear that all the time.
I just got done listening to a podcast, and I think it was like the book was something on like the top 5 regrets of people that are on their deathbeds. And it's always a regret. It's never, I wish I hadn't done something. I wish, they always say, I wish I had done that. So I think it's very important for the audience to take that away. Is a lot of people, especially, the people that you see every day, I guarantee they wish they had a second chance in doing something. And I think we really need to take a step back and kind of like say, all right, where am I at in my life? Reevaluate what your situation is. If you're unhappy, do you want to go the next 30 years in whatever position that you're at, and when you're 70, look back and say that, you know what, I wasted a quarter of my life being unhappy. I'm here now. Like, I wish I had done that. I don't think any of us want that for ourselves.
No, not at all. And it doesn't have to be so scary. Sometimes you don't have to jump from one to the other. That's what we call side hustle. Start something on the side. My parents were both very great students. They got married very young as teenagers and had kids right away. So they didn't get the educational opportunities. But on the side, my dad took the time and educated himself for whatever reason. And this is so beyond me because this is not my interest. He loved learning about taxes and tax law and tax code.
Oh, my God.
I know, I'm baffled. I'm like, God. Oh. So he started doing people's taxes. And God bless him, he would charge $25. And 100 years later, he's still doing it. And he still charges some of these people $25.
Really?
Dad, oh my God, you're spending so much time.
How many audits does he have?
How many what?
How many times has he been audited, or the people that he's done his taxes been audited? Because I might need his card.
Yeah, no, never. For real.
$25.
He is scrupulously honest, and he's had a few people say, "Hey, can you fudge this a little?" And he's like, "Here's the door, thank you." And then just learning about investing, and he has a pension from the road commission, and he made his salary for years, and they could live off that. Their house is paid off, they work hard, but he said, I'd like to learn more about investing. So on the side, after work, he would read a book about it. And then he would try and learn. And so he did that on the side. And so now, he's doing this. He's got this small pool of money that's growing because he just wanted to do something, that excites him, and he feels good and he feels empowered. So he didn't quit his job in the way he was putting food on the table for a wife and 3 children, but he did this also because he knew that there was more to him. And that's amazing. And to get to see him successful and excited about something like that was really cool to watch.
I love it because, this is what this show is about, is realizing that you're more than what you think you are, and going out and like you said, establishing new habits and building that confidence. And then you're going to learn so much more about yourself that you never knew, and that you're going to, you think that you don't know anything about investing. Well, you're probably right, because you haven't read up on anything.
Right.
Grab a book, read a page a day, read a chapter a day. If you don't know what the words mean, Google it. Look them up in a dictionary. It's not like you don't have these resources available to you. Get better at it. I mean, it isn't that difficult. And you can read a lot of Warren Buffett books that talk about, especially like right now in a bear market. It's like everybody, is scared of the stock market, the stocks lowering and stuff like that. They don't realize that's when you buy. Like, that's when you start buying the stocks, is in a bear market. You buy in a bear and you hold in a bull, because you never want to sell. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it, but I'm just telling you right now, you always buy in a bear market because you're gonna get your best value, bang for your buck.
Yes, and the knowledge is out there. The world's knowledge is more easily available than people think. So I worked I've always worked 2 jobs, and I still do, because there's that. I still have that hardworking mentality. But one of the jobs I worked, it was an hour commute. And so just like Brian Tracy, who's a famous author who I adore, said, turn your car into automobile university. So instead of just sitting there being pissed off that everybody's cutting me off and being a jerk, and why does nobody know how to use a blinker? Seriously, though, it's not that hard to use a blinker. They're killing me. But so I listen to podcasts. I listen to audiobooks while I'm in my car. And I, at this point, listen to about 50 books a year. In addition to my medical training, because then I listen to medical podcasts and board review stuff. And can you imagine the amount of knowledge and things you can gain from that? I wanted to be a better speaker. So I was like, okay, what podcasts teach me how to be a better speaker? What audiobooks teach me how to be a better speaker? And listen. And it's so easy. It's so available. It's amazing, the opportunities. And so just taking the opportunity, like whatever interests you, it's there and it's ready. So go grab it.
With the speaking, like you talked about, you're very natural at it, but talk about the experience. Like when you're up there, are you feeling like these nerves? Are you feeling like,
I have, because of my ER background, which is kind of very interesting. I have found, I've been forged in the fire. And once you've cracked open the chest of a human being, massaged their heart, and brought them back from the dead, standing in front of the audience in a cute dress is actually not that scary. So I have that going for me, which is helpful. But I have found now 13 years into emergency medicine, the crazier things get around me, the calmer I get. But that didn't happen overnight. I had to train myself. So I encourage people to use it like an Olympic athlete. So when you start feeling those nerves, that's your body releasing adrenaline. And you have 2 choices what you can do with that adrenaline. You can let it make you shaky and nervous and scared and want to run. Or you can realize that that is your body fueling you for an amazing challenge. Like the way that the Olympic athlete feels right before the race or something. So use that energy for positive instead of negative. And you actually start to look forward to it instead of dread it.
I love that. In the book, you also talk about you used to be a former food junkie. What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Oh gosh, it was terrible. I hated pretty much every vegetable. I liked a few fruits. I remember I was 20 years old, and somebody handed me a peach, and I was horrified. I was like, why is it fuzzy? And they're looking at me like I'm crazy, because I'd always had canned peaches in jars with syrup. I would eat Cheetos and mac and cheese and hot dogs and consider that nutrition. Not now looking back, of course, I'm horrified, but I didn't like any of the healthy stuff. And God, my poor mom. I apologize to her every once in a while. I'm like, God, I'm sorry. I was such a bad eater as a kid. I would stare down a plate of green beans until bedtime because I wasn't the loud tantrum kid, but I was the quiet civil disobedience kid. If she says, I'm going to sit here until bedtime if I don't eat it, I was happy to just sit there until bedtime.
Oh, that's crazy. You sound like my daughter, Ava. That is exactly something she would do.
Isn't it the worst? So bad. So I've actually, as a mom, I was like, absolutely not. Am I repeating this for another generation? My kids are crazy. They'll eat anything. My 2-year-old, well, my son's 4.5 now. He's almost 5. For his second birthday, I was like, honey, what do you want for your birthday dinner? And he said sushi and cake. I was like, what a weirdo. This kid will eat anything.
He's definitely a doctor's kid, eating sushi. Like, seriously, come on now.
I do. I started before they knew any better. I started feeding them all kinds of vegetables and weird crap because I was like, I'm not going to live with a picky eater like me. Because it was awful. And so I had to, as an adult, learn how to eat healthy food because I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be a doctor and I'm going to tell people to eat healthy with Cheeto dust on my white coat. Seriously? I can't do that. And so that was my why part of it. And so it was not always great. But it was actually really amazing. Once you start, it's just that little keystone habit. I was like, okay, I'll start drinking more water. That's easy. Start having one vegetable per, few days, because that's way more than I was eating back then. And it got easier and easier. And the weirdest thing happened, and I never thought this would happen. My taste buds changed. I actually like the taste of it. I'm not doing it just because it's healthy. I actually enjoy broccoli and Brussels sprouts and other healthy stuff. And if I could look back and have a conversation now with my 11-year-old self, she would be horrified. But it really does work. And it just takes a little bit of a push to get you started. And then once you make something a habit, you don't even have to think about it anymore. It just becomes part of your day.
I love that. Now let's move the age up a little bit. So what would you say to your 21-year-old self?
Oh, I would say, 1, stop caring so much about what you think everybody thinks. And 2, you're capable of way more than you know that you are. And so don't be afraid to reach out there and get it. It's all about the regretting the stuff you don't do. So absolutely.
What do you think held you back?
I think it was fear and lack of confidence. I had a teacher in high school tell me I wasn't college material.
What?
I know. Isn't that ridiculous? First of all, it was an AP calculus class. So the fact that I was even in it should have at least been a mild clue that I knew what I was doing. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend I was the best student in there because calculus it wasn't my favorite, but I did okay. But who gives a kid that kind of discouragement? Like, I'm just supposed to, you're just going to be a teenage mom. I don't even know why you're bothering to be here. Instead of saying, you know what, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And so I let that message stick with me for far too long. And I just quietly, I was like, well, but I know I can do this. And I did it anyway. But I could have done it with a lot more confidence if I had just been able to shed that other people's view of me and just was who I knew I could be.
I love that. What made you want to be a doctor? Did you always want to be a doctor, or was there something in your life that kind of solidified that you wanted this profession?
I kind of always thought it was cool. I loved my pediatrician. He was from the Caribbean, and I loved his accent, and he was bald, so he always used to take my long hair and stick it on his head and make me laugh. I was like, oh, that's really cool to get to see that. And I think I was maybe around 10, and we were jumping on one of those big backyard trampolines with my BFF. And we're talking like, this is pre-safety net. This had the springs on the side. There was no cushions. There was no net. You were just like in your backyard, and there was probably like broken glass on the ground. And so I'm jumping with my BFF and this other kid who was twice our age. And he did that thing where you land, and then she landed right at the wrong time, and it launched her off the trampoline.
Yeah, sure. Onto
the ground. And she broke and dislocated her elbow. And I remember looking at, I mean, it was very obvious to a 10-year-old that that's not how it's supposed to go. And I remember looking at it and just kind of like slowing down and kind of squinting at it like, I really want to fix that. And she, of course, was like, get away from me, you 10-year-old lunatic. Go get my mom like a normal kid. And I was like, gosh, that would be really helpful to know how to do that. And I loved my science courses and just kind of embraced my inner nerd. And so gradually it grew and grew. And I was a smidge afraid to tell people that's what I wanted to do because I didn't think anyone would believe that I could do it, even though I was a good student. And so I enrolled at Michigan State University, and I applied as a journalism major originally and got in. And then at freshman orientation, I just very quietly walked over to the desk, changed my major to pre-med, and I kind of expected them to be like, are you qualified? Do you know what you're doing? They didn't care at all. They're like, okay, check this box, sign here, bye. I was like, oh, that was easy. And I went to my classes and I loved them. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm for sure going to do this. All right, cool. Let's do it.
That just blows my mind. Like loving those pre-med biology classes, like all the terminology is longer than, I don't know, my attention span. Like seriously, like you have to break down everything. Everything means something. Like my wife, when she was going in nursing school, she would bring home these books that were like 10 pounds and I would help her study and she would, take, my blood pressure or whatever. And it was just intense. It was intense.
Oh, yeah.
Like I have so much respect for you guys in the medical field because I know exactly, well, not exactly what a doctor goes through, but a nurse, and it's intense. And in the schooling and the training that you guys go through, I mean, that's a long time. I mean, 8+ years, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's a lot. And so you have to want it. Because you're definitely not doing it for the money. You're doing it for 6-figure debt and getting spit on by somebody. So
punch in the face.
Yeah, that was not my finest day.
Paper clips and uteruses.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
So, Dr. Jaime Hope, where can people find you?
So the book is on Amazon now. So that was released today. And my website is drhopehealth.com. And I have a Facebook group. It's the title of the book, essentially. So Habit That. It's the Habit That Tribe. And it is for people who are imperfect and busy and regular, normal people who just want to improve some of their health habits. So this is not, if you're looking for a Facebook page for Olympic athletes and mega dieters, this is not it. This is for us normal folks who want to eat some more vegetables and exercise and try not to gain 50 pounds during the holidays.
Yeah, right. Like me.
Yeah. And just support and encourage each other through the tough times as we all try and just become the best version of ourselves. And so that's what I do.
Mm. So to kind of wrap it up, I'm going to give you a scenario and I want you to kind of talk to me like I am the listener. I am listening to this right now, and let's say I'm going through some life changes. I'm really not feeling my work. I want to maybe start a side hustle, or let's say I might want to write a book, but I don't have the confidence yet. I need you, Dr. Hope, to kind of talk to me right now and give me some inspiration.
So, the first thing I would say when people say, who am I to do something? And I would constantly challenge people to say, who are you not to? So I've done all kinds of kind of fun, interesting things to help increase my confidence. And some days it's literally been right on my mirror in my bathroom. When I first started doing this book, in addition to, like I'm not doing another million other things. And I was like, who am I to write a book? What do I know? Other than the 50 years of training. So I literally wrote one day, I was like, who am I not to? On my mirror. And so every time I was in there, I would see that and just remind myself that it's okay, what I'm doing. And I want to do something awesome. Stick Post-it notes up in places, put inspiring quotes on your wall. But honestly, it's the lack of confidence that keeps people from doing what they should be doing. And there's a great quote by Marianne Williams. I was actually trying to Google it while we're talking, but it starts, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be fabulous, wonderful, power, and amazing? And I challenge you to ask yourself, who am I not to? Shrinking down so that others don't feel inadequate around you is not enlightened. By lifting yourself up, you shine this light that unconsciously gives other people permission to shine their light. And so it's okay to want to do whatever you want to do. Whatever it is, can you imagine if the greatest musicians in the world thought, who am I to learn how to play a guitar? Or the greatest artist, who am I to pick up a paintbrush? And you don't have to be, the Jimi Hendrix of guitars. But whatever you are doing and whatever you're passionate about, the world needs to hear that. And so who are you to hide that from the rest of us? Because there's somebody out there that needs to see you doing that so they can be inspired. So please stop hiding from what you know that you could be doing. Because when you're sitting on your deathbed someday, I would much rather you say, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. It didn't go like I planned, but at least I tried it. Instead of saying, wow, I really wish I would have.
Dr. Jaime Hope giving me hope. I love it.
I try.
I love it. I think a lot of people don't want to ask themselves that question. Like they feel like if they don't try, then they don't have to feel bad when they don't succeed.
Oh, exactly. If you don't put the book out there, nobody can judge it. This week, right before it went live, I was like, I had that kind of normal human, oh my God moment. People are going to read it and someone's going to say it sucks. And you know what? They're not going to like it. And there are trolls out there. And there are some people who will read it and just genuinely think, whatever, this sucked. But I didn't write it for them. I wrote it for the people who are going to read it and say, wow, I took a few useful things out of this and I can help improve my life.
Yeah, but you're gonna help out a ton of more people than the trolls out there. Like, a lot of people are going to benefit from this book. It is called Habit That. The author is Dr. Jaime Hope. I love it. This book is gonna help you change your life. It's gonna help you motivate yourself to get into daily discipline habits that you can produce for yourself to eat better, to feel better, to live better. So, Dr. Jaime Hope, I want to say thank you for joining the show.
Trey, thank you so much for having me. It has been a huge honor. I appreciate it.
I want to say thank you to Dr. Jaime Hope for joining the show. A ton of value, a ton of great content that you can go back and apply immediately to your life. Make sure you check out her book called Habit That. Make sure you order it. I cannot wait to get my copy. If this is the first time you're listening to the show, please hit subscribe and leave a rating and review wherever you get your podcast from. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out. And if you can hear my son in the background, he's currently playing a video game while I'm trying to close out this episode. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I look forward to next week's episode, and I hope that this content is helping you apply it to your life so that you can become your superior self. All right, guys, later.